As immigration tensions escalate, the former president of FIFA is supporting a boycott of the upcoming 2026 World Cup.
Here's a nightmare scenario FIFA doesn't want to even imagine. A World Cup without major European countries taking part.
Do not come. It is not safe here, even for U.S. citizens. ICE officers are untrained, unqualified. It is not safe here for anyone.
Earlier this month, Raw America reported on the mass ticket boycotts of the upcoming USA World Cup. Well, now it's escalated because entire countries are now talking about boycotting it. This is absolutely insane, unprecedented news, a new low for America, or just another day with Donald Trump at the wheel. Like and subscribe to All America so we can bring you all the latest news and just what a cock-up Donald Trump has made each week. Being an alchemist is when everything you touch turns to gold, and being a Trumpimist is when everything you touch turns to shit. There are those out there who thought the World Cup and FIFA as an organization was simply too big to be ruined by Trump, but those were silly non-believers who didn't have faith in Trump's incompetence, stupidity, and malice. After bending the knee to Trump in a performance so humiliating it's now #1 in internet searches for cuckold porn, FIFA is having to watch in horror as the world turns more and more on Trump. Did they forget it was the same world that Trump was a threat to when they inked a deal with his demented devil? Anyways, maybe they thought giving Donald Trump an embarrassing peace prize so he wouldn't throw a tantrum like Dudley Dursley counting his birthday presents would somehow calm him down. Obviously, they'd never dealt with a toddler before, or a narcissist, or a narcissistic, dementia-ridden toddler. But let's face it, after getting a little pat on the back and milkies from Nurse Gianna Infantino, Trump was always going to move on to his next toddler tantrum. Always. And as it turns out, when you invite the rest of the world, which is, believe it or not, made up of non-Americans, to America and then spend your time aggressively rounding up non-Americans and shooting anyone who protests this, the world is suddenly a bit less interested in your party invite. Check out this insane development in USA World Cup drama.
As immigration tensions escalate, the former president of FIFA is supporting a boycott of the upcoming 2026 World Cup. Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium is set to host multiple matches there this summer. In a post today on X, Sepp Blatter quoted in an interview as saying, "For the fans, there is only one piece of advice: stay away from the USA." Blatter was served as FIFA's president from 1998 to 2015. He resigned amid an investigation into corruption.
That means something. If I put my hand up and say, hello, British Chris here, the guy who's currently running FIFA seems to have lost his goddamn mind. He's colluding with authoritarians. Maybe we should boycott this World Cup. People just shrug. When the person who used to run FIFA says it, people pay attention. And when a guy who resigned for corruption is saying this World Cup is a mess and a disaster, nobody go, that should be setting off alarm bells. Now, Blatter made those comments in support of Mark Pief, who's a Swiss lawyer, specializes in white-collar crime and anti-corruption, who called, I mean, what would he know about this stuff, right? He called on football fans to stay away from the US. He said, quote, "If we consider everything else we discussed, there's only one piece of advice for fans: stay away from the USA." And you can probably apply that in general right now. He went on to say, "You'll see it better on TV anyway." Fair point. And upon arrival, fans should expect that if they don't please the officials, they'll be put straight on the next flight home, if they're lucky. And yeah, I mean, people should be actually worried about going through immigration right now. They're asking to see people's social media history to see if they've ever said something negative about Donald Trump. That's 99.9% of the world.
So the EU is now considering boycotting the World Cup because of the trade talks and because of what's happening here at the United States. All leaders, British politicians, and so many more are saying that the United States should no longer hold the World Cup and that the game should be primarily played in Mexico or Canada. Even the former FIFA president is telling fans not to come to the United States. And he is exactly right. Do not come. If you are not living in the United States, I am not sure exactly what your local news is reporting as to what's happening here in the States. But it is not safe here, even for US citizens, let alone immigrants or people traveling from other countries. But people are losing their lives for literally no reason. Our federal agents, ICE officers, are untrained, unqualified, and emotionally unstable right now.
Now, in that video, he's referring to a rising chorus of calls, not just from one person. We have South Africa's main opposition leader saying they should boycott. Made a pretty good point and said a lot of countries refused to trade with South Africa because it was violating human rights and international law, so we must boycott the World Cup in America and anything that has got to do with America. We cannot sit back and allow a person to destabilize the world and it becomes business as usual. That is an act of cowardice. And that is a fantastic point because what is sort of happening right now, and the EU has stood up a little bit with the whole Greenland thing, but what's pretty much happening is Trump is testing the waters, kind of. I don't think he's consciously doing it, but he's a demented old man, demented old narcissist who is melting down, whose life force is ebbing away, and he's just throwing a tantrum, and the whole world is in his sights. And the question really is, will the EU and other countries sit back and be like, well, America's kind of powerful, so we'll just let them kick us around and hope that they stop? Because that's a dangerous train of logic. British lawmakers in the House of Commons, Congress basically, called on England and Scotland to pull out the tournament after Trump's recent threats to annex Greenland. And 100,000 fans in the Netherlands signed an online petition urging the national team to boycott the tournament. 100,000 Dutch people. A, I think that's more than the actual total population of the Netherlands, but B, like, they love their football. It's a big deal, and 100,000 of them are like, nah, it's not worth it. This is insane. In response, the Dutch Football Association said, we're monitoring geopolitical developments and remains in close consultation with the Dutch government. Not like you're crazy, not fuck off, but we're keeping an eye on it. It says so much that they're even just saying that. Now, arguably, the loudest voice in Germany has been BOYCOTT, who's president of FC St. Pauli. Not heard of that team? They're a team in Germany's top flight football, or soccer, if you must, league, which is basically equivalent to the most famous football league in the world, the Premier League. I can see some of you Americans still looking confused. It's the NFL, except in this football league, they kick the ball with their foot as a general rule rather than as an exception. So Mr. Gottlich is a big deal. He's president of a huge German football team, and he's also VP of the German Football Association. It's a big deal. It's like the New England Patriots coach, or the Pats coach, if you will. That's right, Americans, I'm cool. Coming out and saying that their team should boycott the Super Bowl. And look at the language he used. It's very strong, it's very direct. His voice is loud. In an interview with German newspaper Hamburger Morgenpost, which sounds absolutely delicious, he said it was time for Germany to seriously consider boycotting the World Cup. Quote, what were the justifications for the boycotts of the Olympic Games in the 1980s, he said. By my reckoning, the potential threat is greater now than it was then. We need to have this discussion. So one of the key justifications back then was the protest against the invasion of Afghanistan by USSR. It was seen as a violation of international peace, international laws, and international security. Where have we heard that before? Something about Venezuela. And it was part of anti-Cold War pressure, trying to, put some back influence over Russia or the USSR's, hard sort of power. A large and potentially warmongering country with, significant military potential. What would that remind me of right now? And back then, comparisons were drawn to the 1936 Berlin Olympics, with people saying that participating in a country that's committing armed aggression is morally wrong. Now, the German VP guy added an excellent point. He said, Qatar was too political for everyone, and now we're completely apolitical. That's something that really, really, really bothers me. For those who don't remember, Germany made a huge stink about Qatar hosting the 2022 Olympics. They made a huge protest about it, to the point some people said it, actually affected their gameplay. But he's got a point. It is a bit hypocritical for them to have made such a fuss about Qatar hosting it and now being like, yeah, America's cool. And he ended with this absolute zinger, a zinger banger, a zanger, if you will. He dismissed the suggestion that a boycott would hurt St. Pauli's national team players, and he said the life of a professional player is not worth more than the lives of countless people in various regions who are being directly or indirectly attacked or threatened by the World Cup host. Now, this has led to a bit of awkward family in-squabbling, because that was the vice president of the German Football Association. The president of the German Football Association has since come out and said he doesn't support a boycott. But listen to the language that he uses. It's very telling. He said, quote, we at the DFB, the German Football Association, they can't spell, I guess, are very unanimous in our view that this debate is completely misguided at this point in time. At this point in time, he doesn't shut it down completely, and this is a line that is skirted even more blatantly by French officials. Listen to this. France's sport minister, Marina Ferrari, said this about a possible boycott. At the moment we are speaking, there is no desire from the ministry to boycott this major, much anticipated competition. She then added, that said, I am not prejudging what might happen. I am not prejudging what might happen. They're acknowledging that the situation in America is tenuous and could potentially get worse. They're refusing to rule it out entirely, which speaks volumes. Even back during Trump's first term, the idea of a sports event being held in America being boycotted for safety reasons, or because America was threatening to destabilize world peace and the world order, was absolutely unthinkable. Before Trump at all, it would have been laughable. The fact that it's now a serious topic of discussion for world leaders and experts, and that America is now being seen in the same light as Qatar and Russia, speaks to how far we've fallen as a nation. And Trump is at the helm of this sinking ship. And if you're watching this from outside of America and wondering if you as a fan should still come, take it from me. Skip it. Even if you don't get grabbed by men in shiny boots, and before that you make it past the world's least friendliest and most insecure passport control officers, and you make it into the stadiums here, you're going to be confronted with $20 beers. $20 beers, minimum. For the average European, that's about $100 to get a small buzz on. Yeah. Freedom is under attack from all angles here. I'm British Chris, and this is Raw America.